Hello and welcome to yesterday's airlines once again. About a month ago I did a video showcasing some of the new arrivals to my model collection at my Xin Long 400 scale diecast model airport, and that video appears to have been enjoyed by quite a lot of people and I had fun making it, so I thought I'd do another one of those videos showing off some of the recent arrivals to the collection in action at the model airport here. So that's what we're going to do in this video. Now, for anyone who didn't see the previous video, please check that out and the other videos about the diorama. But as you can see, the general layout is that there are two terminals, and then there's this third area here, which is a cargo / maintenance area. Also has the control tower. But you can see in the image here that we've got Terminal 2, which is pretty big with two quite large piers, and then there's Terminal 1, slightly smaller, which also has two piers and a smaller runway section. But now we're going to get in and check out some new arrivals at the airport. So let's get into that now. Okay, so first up is a new model to my collection, but not a new release. It is this Air China 777-300ER. We can see here landing at Xin Long in the Star Alliance scheme. The registration of the aircraft is B2032. And the thing that makes this aircraft a bit different to other Star Alliance aircraft in the Air China fleet is that for a period during 2020, towards the beginning of 2020, the aircraft had this mismatching nose cone where it's got the standard colors Air China nose cone, but on the Star Alliance aircraft. Now, this obviously was only a short-term thing and it has been changed. But you can see here the airport, perhaps not in 2020 because that was right in COVID, wasn't it? But you can see the airport, and we've got Terminal 1 operating once again as an Air China and Star Alliance hub. And we've got the Star Alliance 777 at the end gate here. Now, this is on the latest JC Wings mold, which is a really great 777 mold. So I'm really pleased to be able to add this model to my collection. It joins an older Star Alliance JC Wings 777 that I own on the slightly older version of the mold. But this one looks really nice, and it's, as you can see here, she looks great at the gate alongside an Air China A350 and A330-300. And as our drone pulls up away from the terminal, you can see she's there at the gate, and we get an overview of Terminal 1 as we move to our next visitor and new addition to the fleet. And you can see, as I said before, T1 currently has mainly Air China, a bit of Shenzhen and Shandong also evident there too. But our next visitor is not Chinese and is actually Russian. And again, it's a slightly retro aircraft because the aircraft is not in service with the carrier anymore. But one of the great things that has happened in 2024 is this set of wonderful Il-96 400s from Phoenix. And here we've got a visiting Polet flight Il-96 400 registered RA96102, and she's just taxiing past Terminal 2 here on her way to the cargo gates. A 96102 was one of 4 96 400s that was operated by Polet Flight, and they took delivery of this aircraft. In fact, they leased it from Vaso in October 2009, and she was with them for at least nearly 4 years or so, till about mid-2013. But as you can see here, she's pulling in past the fire station and the snow vehicle area and towards one of those two remote cargo gates, which she's now pulling into. Really enjoying these Il-96 400s from Phoenix, and I've got 4 of them now, and this one represents one of the primary operators of the type. As I say, Polet Fly had 4 in service, or 5 actually, 5 in service at various times, which is a good chunk of the entire production. But here she is at the cargo gates, awaiting, just going to open a side cargo door to begin taking on some luxury cars for some Russian oligarch. Very Russian. And these little luxury sports cars, they come as part of one of the Fantasy Wings GSE sets that you can acquire. Don't usually have a good reason to have sports cars on your airport diorama, but in this case, I can easily imagine Russians buying these and importing them into the country on their Il-96. So there we go. Now moving on to our next new aircraft, we are back to a Chinese domestic operator, and it's one of the airlines that frequents Terminal 2, which is primarily a hub for China Eastern, at least on the L pair, and airlines affiliated with China Eastern. And in this case, that is another China United Airlines. Technically, she's a Shanghai Airlines subsidiary, China United, but China Eastern owns Shanghai. So this is NG models. It is a 737-700 with the winglets, as you can see. And this aircraft very much the modern, and because she's wearing the new China Eastern livery, B5210. Don't love the livery, but I've seen far worse, and at least it's got a reasonably unique tail logo, I guess. Reasonably smart scheme. But there she is, docked at one of the gates, right up against the main terminal building, and she's now being pushed back from that gate. Quite a tight space, but plenty of room for a 73G to push back without too much trouble. And now the tug has got her in position and is ready to detach, and she can begin her taxiing toward the active runway. I really like this model, actually. I think that NG had done an excellent job on these 73G, and in fact I've liked all of their China United releases. They've all been rather attractive, but obviously fairly niche airline for Western collectors. And there she is, taxiing past the China Southern J Pier on her way to Beijing. Our next new arrival at Xin Long is this lovely Hainan Airlines 737-800 with winglets, B6063, and this aircraft is, as you can see, wearing a special scheme. It is the Hainan Free Trade Port livery, which I think is really attractive. It's got elements of the Hainan skyline along it. The Hainan Free Trade Port is a special economic zone, basically, that's been set up by the Chinese government with, I think, more liberal tax and trade rules. So yeah, it's an attempt to build up as economic area, and there are a couple of aircraft in the Hainan fleet that are wearing variations of this livery, including the 738. There's also a 787. Both those have been made in 400 scale, and this one again is another NG models. And NG have been making quite a few Hainan aircraft in recent times. And here she's pulled in to the gate, which is closest to the terminal at T2 on that L pair. And she's not alone because, as you probably saw, there is another Hainan Airlines 737 also parked at the same pier. As I say, Hainan has been getting quite a few releases from NG in recent times. And the other model you can see here is wearing the standard Hainan Airlines livery. And this one is not equipped with winglets. There are still some 738s, I think, in the fleet to this day that don't have winglets, and this aircraft is very much one of those. So in a sense, gives itself a rather retro look without those winglets. But the Hainan livery is a pretty attractive scheme as Chinese liveries go, with quite a lot of colour. And there are several variations of basically the same scheme, as many Hainan group airlines operate wearing effectively a variation of the Hainan scheme. And here's an overview of T2. As you can see, we've got a setup here with China Southern operating out of the J-Pier gates on the left-hand side. And as we've seen, we've got China Eastern Group Airlines and Hainan Group Airlines operating from either side of the L-Pier. Now, she's on pushback, this Hainan Airlines 737-800. And once again, taxiing out for her departure to Haikou. Our next visitor to the airport is quite exotic for Xin Long, though it does receive A380 service from China Southern. It doesn't get very many A380s from across Japan way, and here we have a special charter flight being operated by JA383A La, the aircraft is called, wearing the flying Honu orange colours. This aircraft is at Xin Long to deposit a large group of Japanese tourists who are visiting China. And you can see she's taxiing past Terminal 2. Obviously, All Nippon being a Star Alliance affiliated airline is not going to be gating at the SkyTeam terminal and is instead on its way to the Star Alliance terminal, Terminal 1, where there is 2 gates that can take an A380. And as you can see behind the China Southern 380, one of those gates was empty but is now filled by this delightful Aviation 400 A380 release. And this model was, I think, an early 2024 release. The aircraft itself has only been in service for less than 2 years, I think, after being in storage for quite a long time due to the COVID pandemic. But now All Nippon is flying its A380s to Hawaii primarily, but in this case a rare charter to the Chinese mainland. And our last new visitor for this video is another unusual aircraft. Xin Long doesn't get a lot of military traffic, but in this case we have had the arrival of a Xi'an Y20 Kunpeng, this case registered 11158. This is my first Y20 and it is a really cool looking aircraft, and this model is by NG Models and a model I received as part of the latest CRP round, so it's a free model. And it's a really nicely finished model, and she's here at one of the cargo gates picking up some material for the People's Liberation Army Air Force. And I've been getting more into military aircraft recently, so this is a really nice addition to my burgeoning military fleet. And quite a unique looking aircraft, even amongst military transports, though I guess broadly similar to a C-17. Okay, well that is it for this video. A look at some of my latest arrivals and have them up on the airport terminal diorama. So hopefully you've enjoyed this quick look around Xin Long once again as some new aircraft paid a visit. Please chuck a like on the video if you enjoyed the content, and don't forget to subscribe to Yesterday's Airlines as well, where I regularly publish this kind of material and lots more. But that's it for this video. Thank you very much for watching, everyone. It's goodbye from me.